So right now there is a massive campaign online. I don't know about YouTube because YouTube doesn't really put out left-leaning creators. I don't know if there's a lot on YouTube. I know that Boots on the Ground is on YouTube, but that's about all I know. But there's a massive campaign right now to call people who want to separate traitors, okay? And I need to talk about it. So we're going to be reacting to somebody's video, and I want to talk about why Alberta or Albertans are not the traitors in this situation. So welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. Thank you guys so much for liking, subscribing, and coming on this journey with me. We have some good news in the Alberta docket. The other day, my husband's friend at work asked him, hey, did you ever go look at that house, like that homestead? Because I told you guys, I saw my dream house, and something in me told me, no, we're not going to go look at it. We're going to wait. And little did I know that this was the reason why, but my husband goes, no, we're going to Alberta. And then his friend was like, well, I have friends that went out to Alberta and it's no better out there. There is a house in the middle of nowhere. It is not even in Pickle Lake. It's like east of Pickle Lake. And it is $200,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1 washroom. That is so remote, you guys. Why would that, I'm sorry, is this a 5-bedroom cottage? No, it's not. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into today's video. I have extremely bad allergies right now because it is finally spring in Northern Ontario. Actually, it is snowing today, which, by the way, I am praying for Grand Prairie. I know that they're on fire right now. I'm very confused. Northern Ontario still has snow in the trails, so I need to know what about Alberta is like. Do you guys get really dry? Maybe we are really wet because we have so many lakes. Like, I'm not even kidding you. In a 30-kilometer span of me, there's 43 lakes. 43 lakes, which is why I really wanted Northern Ontario to open up and be thriving again, because Northern Ontario is stunning. I know we don't have mountains. Well, we have one and it is shaped like a boob, and it is in one of my thumbnails from the other day. I'm just so confused how so early it is like fire season for you guys. But I'm praying for you guys. I seriously, we have forest fires here as well all of a sudden too that don't get put out. And I don't know, but I really love the color blue. I'll just say that. Anyways, people are tearing me apart in the comments of this person's video, who, by the way, is named Callum, and his display picture is him with green hair. So take that with what you will. So let's listen to Callum TikTok.
There are thousands of Albertans who are so frustrated with the last 10 years of longer and more prosperous as an independent nation. That is an understandable and justifiable feeling to have, even if we disagree on what to do about it.
I don't know how Danielle Smith is wrong.
Nor should they ever be treated as such.
No, they should.
Yes, they are, and yes, they should be. Like, while Alberta separatists might not be literally committing treason, legally speaking, in layman's terms, they are, by definition, traitors. Traitor, a person who betrays a friend, country, or a principle. And I mean, it's obvious that they're betraying the country. The whole point of the country is that we're all provinces of the country. But they also seek to betray the treaties, which are still in effect and encompass the land that Alberta exists on. So yeah, these people are obviously traitors and fucking stupid and don't represent all of Alberta. In fact, there's a very small minority of Albertans.
Small minority of Albertans.
Yeah, they suck.
Oh my God. It almost gives me an aneurysm to listen to, because, oh, you say that someone is a traitor to their country if they break their principles? Do you mean like locking people in their homes, shutting down the economy, closing every small business, forcing people that if they do want to go back to work to get a medication, and then freezing their bank accounts if they protested those things? You don't think that's a bit traitorous of the federal government? Because an example is assist an enemy at war with Canada or armed forces against Canadian forces are engaged in hostilities, whether or not a state of war exists between Canada and a country whose forces they are. That's really interesting, because wasn't there election interference? Didn't someone actually ask for the bounty of a conservative MP and they just let it happen? Didn't an RCMP investigation come out and say, hey, these 9 people we found that they are involved in foreign interference and nothing is being done about it, maybe they should be fired? No, one of them went to the White House the other day. Oh, and then the next one says, kills or attempts to kill Her Majesty or does any bodily harm tending to death or destruction, maims or wounds her, imprisons or restrains her. Does that only cover the Queen? Or does that cover the public? Because if that covers the public, oof, there's a big high treason right there on the Canadian public, which is, and not only that, like I said yesterday, there has been a concerted effort from the NDP and Liberals throughout the school systems of Canada to make sure that people think that Alberta's main source of getting money is evil. It's also the main source everyone else lives with and lives by. Betrayal from Ottawa that Alberta has had to endure for a long time. I mean, to be honest, the betrayal that Ottawa has put on every working class citizen in this country is criminal and treasonous and they're traitors. You're supposed to, I'm going to make a whole video about this because people on the left do not seem to understand what the ethical standard of practice is or why it exists, which, by the way, covers things like bodily autonomy, do no harm, all of those different things that are social services. The biggest reason we have those things in place is so that there doesn't create mass distrust between professionals and patients. Yeah, which Ottawa completely threw out the door, and now they're wondering, why are all these people conspiracy theorists? You guys broke all of our trust, and then you continue to gaslight us. All of us hardworking people who can no longer work because we're literally fighting for our lives mysteriously after 2021, because correlation doesn't equal causation to the left, despite when I was in school, you guys, you know what the number one thing they taught us? Because we have to, when you're a CYW, you have to administer medication. That no medicine is good nor bad. It is how it reacts in your body. Except for this one thing, right? Except for this one thing. I can't get over it. I have a hard time getting over the fact that everybody, like people who voted these people in, were so okay with the things that happened to us from March of 2022, continuing even now to what they're doing to Chris and Tamara. How it is okay or fair that this happens to us while there is so much crazier things happening right now in regards to Canadian streets. Sorry guys, I had to put my hair up. But not only has Alberta faced the betrayal of what we all have, like the regular everyday people from even Ontario, coast to coast, okay? I'm talking, putting us in our homes, making us take a medication, freezing bank accounts, demonizing Canadians who want bodily autonomy. They have had a considerable effort in demonizing the only way that Albertans can survive, which is gas and oil. And to me, people like Charlie Angus should be ashamed of himself, because he of all people should understand, as he's sending us a postcard, because we're like on the edge of his area, he sends us a postcard of him in his plane that he obviously has to put gas in. Like, who wanted to make rhetoric about gas and oil illegal positive rhetoric about gas and oil illegal in Canada, as he understands that electric vehicles cannot work in places like even Northern Ontario. Basically, the only place that I could see it working in is Victoria, like BC, where it's warm, and maybe Nova Scotia. But even then, the roads, I can't imagine what they're like in the winter, okay? The betrayal from Ottawa is on so many different levels, and Albertans, it's just heightened. I truly don't understand how people, and I respect people having their own opinion. You do you, okay? I don't understand why we only hear from one opinion from Indigenous people. When you go on TikTok, there's a lot of different opinions from Indigenous people. If it wasn't for TikTok, I would have no idea that there are Indigenous people out there who are pro-oil sometimes and who aren't pro-oil sometimes, or who disagree with the Liberal government or agree with the Liberal. Like, I would have no idea that they had their own voices until I went on TikTok, because the voices that are out there for Indigenous people are still controlled by the CRTC and the CBC. And to me, one of the interesting things that I read during this time of, the government trying to convince us that we were horrible people and that they weren't the ones who did all of this to Indigenous people, which they absolutely were. It was not our ancestor. So, yeah. And things can be renegotiated, you guys. Whoever gives the better deal. You would just either be, because someone said you're renting this land. Well, you're either renting it to Alberta or the Crown. So I'm not sure which one would be better. But it's really, up to you guys to decide that. But who really knows what's going to happen? I genuinely have so many question marks in my head after yesterday with Mark Carney and Trump. Go watch that video. And I need to know, if you're in Alberta, what you guys actually think about Danielle's referendum. There are some people who think it's a great path and it seems like a reasonable path. To me, if you guys want more people coming in, unless you rent and can just are on your last contract and you can break off and go to Alberta, selling and buying a house is not usually an overnight success, especially in Northern Ontario right now. There's a lot of houses that have been for sale for a long time, but they're kind of more expensive. Ours wouldn't be. But you never know. You know what I mean? People need time to go. But on the other hand, people say that they wanted it done now. I don't know how fast these things move. To me, looking at it from an objective point of view, I have no idea how long something like that would take. I would think it'd take up to a year. I could be wrong. But that's because I'm used to the Liberal machine that works at 10 kilometers an hour in 100. Okay? But I respect the opinions of Albertans, okay? And I know that guy has no idea what he's talking about when he says there's a small fringe minority. Do you guys remember what happened the last time you guys said we were a small fringe minority? Come on now. Come on now. I'm sorry. We seen how Alberta votes both federally and provincially. Come on now. Come on. I didn't even understand how Rachel Notley got in. Okay, I had no idea. Was it that much city in Edmonton and Calgary that won? Because I just couldn't believe that. But anyways, so yeah, I don't think Albertans are traitors. I think that the left is yelling at the wrong person, but then again, they yell at whoever CBC or CTV or the mainstream media tells them to, which is so ironic. Why it would ever even seem like a bad idea to, they think everything on the table is treasonous. Even wanting more separation and independence from Ottawa is a bad thing. Oh, so you guys haven't got the call from CRA, after they took away everything from you guys and made you go on the assistance you thought you were paying into, and then turn around 4 years later and say, well, you applied for the wrong thing. Sorry about that. You're going to have to owe us all of that back plus interest. That hasn't happened to you guys yet. So, anyways, by the way, at the time, my children were very young. There was no leaving them home alone. The left loves to come up with every excuse in the book why it would ever be okay to come back onto families like this, when they literally were giving criminals, CERB, Not a clue. But like I said, they'll eat the bugs, you know? And I was going to say, I think not eating meat does something to your brain. I was way more susceptible. And I still was a free thinker. Like, I still had the ability to look at things objectively, and I still was convinced all of these weird things. So, okay. Overall, I want to let the left know, I don't know how you could oppose freedom. I don't know how you'd want people like Mark Carney owning everything in Canada. I truly have no idea. But Albertans are not traitors. People need to really take a step back and think, what would ever make a province want to do that? I don't know, bullying them for the last however many years? Literally taking away people's rights and freedoms? I don't know. Demonizing people, demonizing hard work, not only demonizing it, punishing you for being a hard worker. Okay? Anyways, so you guys tell me, have you seen this in the comments? Yes, no, maybe so. And what is your response? Do you guys think Albertans are traitors? I doubt you do. I think that Ottawa. Who's the traitor? Ottawa or Alberta? Anyways, guys, you have a great one, and I will see you tomorrow.